Chapter 6, Time Travel. Brother Blackroots, thanks for the reply. On the same question, was the dream given the person by his higher self? Do you think we can all see the future in a dream, or do you know any ritual to access the future? Yes, the dream was a given vision to the person by his higher self. And no, there's no ritual to enable a person to access the future. We have rituals for sending people to the past using our systems of the Toro, as I have already explained in the book, but there are no rituals for sending them to the future. The reason is simply because the future has not happened yet. We can investigate the past in order to gain knowledge that we can use in the present so that we can have wisdom to advance into the future with balance and harmony. That's really the reason why we go back in time to the past. As far as the future is concerned, only God, the 24 elders, know the future. We write our future when we are united with the minds of the elders before we incarnate. After our incarnation, our conscious memory starts as a blank slate. We no longer have knowledge of the future. This is an essential part of our lives that should start from a blank slate. That makes our lives original and genuine. Everything that happens is brand new to us, and we react to it in a genuine way. If we knew all the details of our future, then our lives would lose that genuineness and originality. Now, it's possible, and it does happen a lot, that certain events in our future are shown to us. This always happens in a spontaneous way, meaning it is never initiated or controlled by the person, only by the higher self. Such visions can occur when a person is wide awake or asleep in a dream. When such visions occur, it is because the higher self wants the person to have that particular information for reasons that are known only to the higher self. Such visions happen many times to the prophets of old. They still happen today to many people. When they do, it is always the higher self showing the person part of the future. It is not possible for the person to use any type of ritual to access those visions or any part of the future by themselves. Of course, it's possible for other beings to show people visions and mislead them into thinking those are real visions of the future. This has to do with the abuse of the psychic power. There are those, especially extraterrestrials, who are very adept at this type of thing. They take advantage of the fact that most people really live in a state of sleeping wakefulness. They are able to put all kinds of visions in the minds of some people and convince them that they are seeing the future. When you read stories of extraterrestrial contact with humans and all the predictions that these extraterrestrials made in the past, you will not find one that has ever come true, and yet people continue to be misled. So, how can one tell the difference between genuine visions and deceitful ones? The higher self gives visions only to people who know his or her voice. Just like it says in the Bible, the sheep know the voice of their shepherd and could never be misled by the voice of another. They listen only to their shepherd and no one else. The way to know the voice of your higher self is to practice listening to it. With enough practice, you'll be able to recognize it because it is unique, unlike any other type of communication that can enter your mind. That is why it is so important to do the exercises in the second level of Blackroot science as given in the book. By practicing consistently, you will reach a point where you recognize your voice of your higher self so well that no one can deceive you. At that point, you will begin to receive visions from the higher self and know that they are true. In the case of going to the past, of course, this can be done by using rituals because the past is history. All nations must study their history to know themselves and to gain wisdom. Modern people do it by reading books or making films of their history. That is part of their system of education. Our system of education uses the ritual method to study history, as well as storytelling done by elders and griots and so on. So the past is an open book because it has already happened. Anyone with the ability to do so can access any part of it. Assessing it is simply part of your education, exactly like listening to your grandparents tell you about their lives before you were born. Not so with the future. The future is sacred knowledge available only to Madimo, the Most High One. For all other people, it is not possible to go there and investigate it like we do with the past. So there are no rituals designed for doing that. Now, there are people who like to claim that they have seen people come from the future or that they themselves can go to the future. How can you go to a place that does not exist yet? How can people be living in and coming back from a place that does not exist? All such ideas are fanciful imaginations, are fabrications used to serve some nefarious purpose that has nothing to do with the truth. The future can be predicted to some extent using logical analysis based on events of the past and present, and being able to see trends. For example, as you know, weather can be predicted reasonably accurately for short intervals by studying weather patterns. Similarly, technological advancement can also be predicted for short intervals by studying trends. The same with many other phenomena like social trends, biological trends, and so on. Beyond those short intervals, there are too many variables that make it possible to predict with reasonable, reliable accuracy, not to mention the fact that the unknown plans of the elders have on the future, which can change the future in directions that no one can ever predict. So when some people say that they have been to the future, if they are not telling outright lies, then what they are doing is using their imagination to try to predict what the future will look like. People with very active imaginations and exceptional abilities can see those future predictions so clearly that they see themselves actually there, living in and absorbing the future. But regardless of how clearly that they see it, it is nothing but their imaginations. It does not in any way mean that those futures they can actually see. They simply do not because the future has not happened yet. The only scenarios of the future that are set in stone, so to speak, are those of the Most High, are those that the Most High show us. But regardless of how clearly they see that, it is nothing but their imaginations. It does not in any way mean that those futures they see actually exist. They simply do not because the future has not happened yet. The only scenarios of the future that are set in stone, so to speak, are those that the Most High shows the person in a vision. Those are part of what is already written because they are part of the plan of the elders, who are the only ones who know the future and all its details. As far as people coming back from the future, that is also impossible because the future has not been experienced yet. The Most High uses the present and the now moment to experience what He knows. Then that now moment becomes the past and becomes available to us to learn from it. So God, in the bodies of people, experiences it, then makes it available for us to see it and gain wisdom from it. We cannot see His experiences before He experiences them. Wisdom is directly linked to experience of the truth. Without experiencing the truth, there is no wisdom that can be gained. And there is certainly no wisdom that can be gained from experiencing fanciful imaginations.